Please turn off the cell phones. Okay, 6:12, Calexico City Council, Calexico Development Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority special meeting on Tuesday, June 28, 2016 at the City Calexico Fernando Nene Torres Council Chambers. Roll call. Hi. Here.
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 Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Public comments. Looks like we don't have any public comments. Not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the City Council on closed session items only. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. The City Council is prohibited by taking action or discussing item not included on the printed agenda. Please direct your questions and the comments to the City Council. Adjourn to the closed sessions. A closed session of the City Council, Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency, Success Agency, Calexico Financing Authority may be held in accordance with state law, which may include but is not limited to the following types of items: personal matters, labor negotiation, security matters, providing instruction to real property negotiation, and the conference with legal counsel regarding pending litigation. The closed session will be held in the City Hall, conference rooms located at 608 Hiva Avenue, Calexico, California. Any public comment on closed session item will be taken before the closed session. Any required announcements or discussion of closed session item or action following the closed session will be made in the City Council chambers. 608 Hiva Avenue, Calexico, California. Closed session. One, conference with labor negotiation. Agency representative, city manager, city attorney. Employee organization, police officers association, firefighters association, supervisor association, certified operator associations, SEIU, local 221. Calexico Municipal Employees Association, government code section 54957.6. Conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to the government code section 54956.9 D1. Stefan Frazier versus City of Calexico, Stephen Garcia versus City of Calexico, German Duran versus City of Calexico, Frank Uriarte versus City of Calexico, Luis Casillas versus City of Calexico, Ludi Alacon versus City of Calexico, Gabriel Rodriguez versus City of Calexico. So we're going to adjourn to closed session. 6:16. Please taking care of your cellular phone. We're waiting for the city clerk. When she's coming back, we're going to start meeting.
Es que nada más empieza. La verdad sí interesante.
Instead of doing the whole thing,
Y año por año. Pues también. Yo creo que esto está bien. Yo creo que está yendo más para
and to have waited this long for this, John, to not even give their people an opportunity, that's so sad. And you know what? They're all looking at that. And all that's going to do is just kill more morale. This is a revised resolution. Thank you, my dear. Of budget. For the budget, it's just the underlined section. This is a revised resolution. It's just the underlined section, and Mr. Campos will introduce it. This is the revised resolution. Campos is going to explain it.
Sí, ahí también hay como
So if you're ready, Ms. Garcia, ready? Okay, 7-11, Calexico City Council Calexico Redevelopment's successor agency, Calexico Financing Authority, will start. Call to order.
Mayor Kim,
Yes?
Mayor Pro Tem Castro,
Here.
Councilmember Leal,
Here.
Councilmember Hurtado. Here. Councilmember Moreno.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. We have a pledge of allegiance. Let's see. We can have by Mr. Ruben. Would you lead us, police officers?
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, I forgot your last name. Couldn't remember. Okay, closed session announcements.
Thank you, Mayor. City Council met in closed session on 2 items to conference with labor negotiators as well as to conference legal counsel regarding existing litigation. For both items, no reportable actions were taken. Thank you.
Announcement, okay. It looks like we forgot to put in the public comments. So we're going on after the announcement, we're supposed to put in the public comment for this closed session special meeting. So I make the motion to put the public comment after the announcement to approve it. I made the motion to approve it with the public comment after the announcement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Castro. We vote. Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Leal, Mr. Moreno.
What was your motion?
My motion was
To approve the agenda with
put
public
the agenda
comments
with
after
public
the
comment after the
announcements?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Leal? Okay, thank you. 5-0. Okay, announcement. This proceeding may be viewed on the City of Calexico website at www.calexico.ca.gov the Friday following the City Council meeting. Public comments and the public appearance. Note, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time to address the council on items on the printed agenda. Public comments at special meeting are limited to item on the special meeting agenda. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and the place of the residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. The City Council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Please direct your questions and the comments to the City Council. If we have nobody that submitted paperwork, so we have some slip down there, we can put it on the slip. One person, we have 2 persons right now talk. The item number 1. Okay. So, Ms. Norma Aguilar.
Good evening. My name is Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue.
I'm not here to point any fingers or to judge anyone. I am here to ask you to take into deep consideration that if you implement this 30% reduction in salary to our city employees, you will be having a tremendous impact, not only on their livelihood, but on our city itself. I served on the Measure H committee previously, and at times, city manager, during those times, two in particular, came and requested funding. At this point, I don't know where the finances are for Measure H. You know, you hear one thing and then you hear another and then you hear still another. So I don't know. Only you guys know because you're the ones who are privy to that information. The last time I served on it twice, and the last time that we were serving Mr. Quinn was the finance manager. At that time, we weren't getting any financial reports. And so I don't know if that's changed. I don't know if it's true that there is no more money in Measure H. I don't know if it's true that the money has been committed, future revenues from that source has been committed. I do know, what I do know is this, is that when Measure H was placed on the ballot first time, it was dedicated towards funding police, safety, and recreation. That was the original intent. And that did not pass. And then it came back to the citizenship with the same kind of language, but it wasn't dedicated. And all along, all this time, the citizenship has been under the impression that it's dedicated to those funds. It's not. What the original Measure H committee did is they tried to adhere as much as possible to the intent, because that was the promise, that's how it was sold to the citizenship. Now, if you're going to commit, if you're going to get money from somewhere, at least take it from somewhere where you know it's not going to hurt people. And if there are no funds there, then God help us and God help our employees. But I really, as a board or as a council, you can override, and previous councils could have overridden the recommendations of Measure H, and at most times they didn't. But you always have that option and had that option. So if we're going to do something, then do something to help us move forward as a community. Don't hurt the people that help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Next person, Javier Gonzalez.
Javier Gonzalez, 237 Hernandez, President of the Calexico Finance Commission. I'm tired of all this bickering, all this waste of time. We're here for two things: to approve the budget. We're not here to discuss employees, department, the past month or Queen. We're not here for that. We're not here to discuss about the finance department. That was something that I found yesterday. I should have stopped it. It's just Mandy, Marita, and Kim, they just want to give your speeches. We're here for that. It's a simple thing. It's a common sense. Up there's only one educated person. It's Mr. Moreno. You don't need education. It's common sense. You're going to approve the budget, yes or no? Later, we're going to see where it's going to come from these microphones, the lights, the employees. We're not here for that. We're here for, you're going to approve the budget, yes or no? Yesterday, the Finance Commission gave a green light. We don't know where it's going to come. We didn't recommend 30%. We didn't say take it from the police department. We're just approving the budget. It's 3.9 that we're taking away. I wish it was more. But it's not the employees that we're fingering. We need to cut. That is going to be his job, but not today. Today, we've got to stop the bleeding. Okay? Yesterday, it was just fighting between Marita and Mandy. And where did you guys get your education? Ms. Hurtado, sorry, but yesterday, last year before it started, you were already blessing the last year's budget. You didn't question that yet then. You're questioning everything today, and it's good. Should have questioned it before. Now, we're not here for that. I'm not here for the past. We need to cut. Yesterday, 3.9. I don't know where it's going to come from. Not the employees. We don't want to target the employees. One thing that we need is public safety, because I'm feeling it. And I don't want to target them. Some of them get paid too much. That's not my problem. That's his problem. But right now, we're here for two things. And I don't want to hear that El Centro has more than Calexico. We're not here for that. We want to approve the budget, 3.9. That's it. And the other thing is, I think it's if you want to get the loan from the enterprise. That's it. That's all we're dealing with. We don't want to hear bickering up and down in the finance department. That's what we heard yesterday. We're tired of that. That's why everybody's confused. That's why even Norma Aguilar, who's in the matrix, she's confused. All this bickering. You're going to approve the budget, yes or no? That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. So looks like no more public comment on this. So we're gonna go to the item number 1, discussion and potential action items.
Mr. Mayor, just for the record, there's a revised resolution for the budget adoption, and that's been distributed to you, just for your information.
Oh, yeah,
for the
I
record.
think the copy explained to every council member about the resolution has been revised to adding some sentence.
Correct, for the record.
Okay, the sentence was
Or as soon thereafter as legally permissible is the sentence we're adding to section 3 of the resolution.
would you clearly tell us again, please? Clearly tell us again, what was the adding up of the
There's a copy
sentence?
that was distributed to the council right now.
So I
It
think
says-
probably have to know what's going to.
Correct, but, so we're adding or as soon thereafter as legally permissible.
Okay, thank you.
And the city clerk has additional copies if anybody wants one.
Thank you, sir. Okay, number 1, discussion of proposed budget and the financing documents for fiscal year 2015-2016 and fiscal year 2016-2017. I believe we have already to present it.
Good
you.
evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Susan Mayer. I'm the financial consultant who's been helping the city during the past year organize its financial records. This is the 4th time that we have discussed the city's financial condition in the last month and a half. And so my comments tonight are very brief. I have just a few speaking points to frame the decisions in front of you and the actions we're asking you to consider tonight. The PowerPoint, please. Thank you. We have 2 agenda items tonight. The first is to consider a resolution to adopt a 2-year budget, 2015 and 16 and 16-17. The second item in front of you tonight is to consider resolutions, and that's plural, to approve a $3.5 million loan, first in your capacity as the city, and second in your capacity as the board for the financing authority. I'd like to present both of these items together because they are independent. The budget assumes the approval of the loan, and so we would ask for after your discussion, consideration, and your questions, we would ask for your vote on all these items in concert at the end of the presentation. You have a budget for the entire city, and the attachment to your resolution lists the proposed budget in total for all funds of the city. But the 2 items to highlight here are the 15-16 deficit in the general fund. We are proposing a budget in the general fund that without a loan is a $3.5 million deficit. And so in order to adopt this budget, we would also need to identify a funding source, and that is proposed to you as a interfund loan from your wastewater fund. The second major highlight is to reemphasize that the 16-17 budget that is proposed to you includes a general fund deficit of 3.9. And included in that 3.9 is the first $1 million installment on repayment of the loan from the 15-16 deficit. The deficit is addressed with placeholder adjustments.
We have presented a framework for consideration, but the budget resolution assumes that adjustments will be made to revenues, to operations, and/or to the salary and expenditure budget, either through positions or negotiated changes. And we leave the execution of that. Your resolution directs your city manager to identify the specific components of those placeholders within the next 30 days. And in all due respect, your city manager has been here, I think, 1 week now, right? Yes.
May I interrupt? I'm sorry. What you just said now, that to identify solutions, in your previous presentations before Mr. Villa arriving, you did suggest that there are opportunities that the council can consider as well. At what stage will the council, because I was hoping today we would be able to go line by line and review this budget and be able to look at those cost-saving opportunities as council. I thought that was coming, and I do expect that maybe we could have that opportunity. We're looking at 2 years' worth, Mr. Villa. Because now I'm looking at, that will be your responsibility to look at the cost-saving solutions, where as council, we will not have that opportunity after all?
This is your budget to adopt as you choose.
I believe, as I think a lot of us here believe, that 2 years' worth of a budget with this much controversy and this much length of time to wait for this and suspicions and claims, I think it is where we now have to put our money where our mouth is, I guess, and roll up our sleeves and look at this, because I've been reviewing this with the community, and there is a lot of opportunity for that. And I think that it is only fair that if Mr. Villa has not been here with this city throughout this, that the council does have that opportunity. I mean, I know I've been studying and divulging as much as I can outside. And, you know, yesterday, I know that Mr. Gonzalez was a little upset about yesterday, but, you know, even the Finance Committee yesterday, it was a little disturbing to see that the Finance Committee has not done their homework. They have no idea what's here. That's why it's really easy for him then to suggest that you take a 30%, because there hasn't been any homework there. And rubber stamping at this point with this kind of big problem, you know, Mr. Yanez himself also indicates it's a little confusing for him. But yet there's no stopping here for a moment, and all of us working as a team, as all of you guys want us to. Isn't this the moment that we were going to be waiting for? The moment for all of us to put our heads together and look at it, and having history, knowledge of history, and where we want to go. And so I'm challenging the council. Let's sit down. I'm ready. Let's go line by line tonight. Besides, you know, I feel that this is the time we have to work now. Because if this is something that we have to oversee, this is things that we know, I think that that's the right way. We've done it before as a council many times. And so I feel that this is the most appropriate time ever in my service to this community. Thank you.
And so we have for you a proposed budget and are here tonight to take your feedback and your recommendations and to have your input on this budget. And I want to emphasize, and Eduardo, on the next slide here, the reasons why action tonight is imperative. And I want to explain why we're sitting in a different place than we were a year ago. So a year ago, a spending plan was presented to the City Council as proposed budget. And for a variety of reasons, a budget was not passed. And what was different a year ago is that there was a perception by all the parties and understanding by all the parties that there were reserves and revenues sufficient to cover operations. And so although a formal action wasn't taken, the city continued operations, paid employees, paid vendors, with the assumption that that money was available. And now we are at a different place in time, because now we have knowledge that we have an overdraft for 15-16. We project that we are overspending the general fund by $3.5 million. And we need to formalize a borrowing in order to continue to operations. And in order to formalize that borrowing, we need a demonstrated ability to repay. So the reason that we have scheduled this meeting tonight, June 30, to adopt a budget is so that the doors to City Hall can open tomorrow morning. We need to have a balanced budget for 16-17 for a couple of reasons. And again, we're in a different place. We need to demonstrate the ability to repay the interfund loan. And there's a reason for this, because in the actions that you will be asked to take as in approving the loan, you have two fiduciary responsibilities. One is to the wastewater customers, to make a sound investment. And by loaning this money to the general fund, you are making the fiduciary assumption that the general fund has the ability to repay that loan. It's your duty to the customers of the wastewater system to make sure that a plan is in place to repay that loan, to keep the integrity of that system. And so, and I keep emphasizing, we are in a different place now. It is necessary to demonstrate the ability to repay the loan, and because of the projected deficit, we need to demonstrate that there are plans in place to match revenues and expenditures. Without reserves in place, there is a fiduciary duty to be sure that there are resources available to pay your bills. If you call employees to work, if you contract for services with your vendors, it needs to be with the assumption that the city has the resources to pay those obligations. And this is why you're in a different place now than a year ago. We need a balanced budget. It includes, granted, it includes placeholder reductions, but as a fiduciary, this is necessary to begin operations tomorrow morning. In order for the city to continue operations July 1st, we need to demonstrate that there is an ability, a plan, a workout plan, a plan to move forward to match the revenues and expenditures. And at this point, I would defer to the city attorney to please expand on that comment.
Sure. Definitely, I was noted on the record, we are at a different place, whereas last year, I think the city was not sure of what were the expenditures and revenues. At the same time, too, there were reserves. Today, though, after a lot of work by staff and Susan as well, we've identified a $3.5 million shortfall for the current fiscal year, which ends today. There are no more reserves, and that's why we've now turned to doing an interagency loan from the wastewater to the city in order to fill the budget gap for this year that ends today. And because of that, as council being fully aware of this budget deficit, you do have fiduciary responsibility to ensure that if you spend any dollar without a budget adopted that has a loan transfer and spend any dollar tomorrow with no money in the bank, at that point, there's potential civil and criminal liability based on misuse and misappropriation of funds because you would not have any money. So at that point in time, you would essentially be writing bad checks. And that's why it's imperative that we adopt a budget this evening with the loan transfers. And that's codified in the statutory code of your responsibilities as city council members.
There is a lot not to like about this budget. I don't think that any city department is able to deliver the services that the community expects and deserves. The staffing, as has been noted, has dropped over 100 employees in the last number of years. And the capacity of the city to deliver the services it would like to is just, these are unmet needs. The revenues that are available are not sufficient at this point in time to deliver the services that I understand the community is interested in receiving and that the city council would like to provide. However, this is what we have to work with. And I understand that council may have some edits to this budget. They may have input on areas that they would like to see increased, decreased, however, to achieve a balanced budget. But I encourage you to consider that this is just a moment in time and that there will be continued opportunities to amend this budget as new plans or workout solutions come into focus. The last slide I'd just like to briefly highlight on is the loan from the wastewater fund. I'd like to just, can we have the next slide, please? Thank you. The wastewater loan is $3.5 million. And again, at this point in time, if you could advance the slide, and another 2 slides, please. One more. There we go. All right, so the form of the borrowing is as a lease. The asset that is pledged is City Hall. I wanted you to understand that there are legal reasons why the loan was set up this way. We need to, and you have a financing team through your legal firm that has structured this to comply with California law. California law doesn't allow cities to borrow, but to issue debt, to go into debt, but they do allow cities to enter into leases. And so you have hired your financing team to put together a lease agreement that meets the California Constitution requirements. And so in your capacity as the fiduciary for the wastewater fund, you are basically investing in the general fund through a lease on City Hall. That is the legal structure, and that's why there's an inch thick of documents to approve with respect to that loan. You have used your legal team to give you their best fiduciary advice as to how to structure this to demonstrate an arm's length transaction. And the reason I emphasize that is because there are policies here for you to consider. The loan is proposed at 4 years and 4%. Now, you may remember, for any of you or anyone else in the audience who read through the inch thick of documents, that the original loan was at 5.5%. And in the first early drafts you saw of this, a week or two, had a higher interest rate. And we've had a conversation with your financing team and suggested that maybe that was too high a rate. And they're coming back and pricing this as what they feel this type of investment might receive in the open market. Again, they're trying to coach you as to what an arm's length transaction is to be sure that this is a bona fide lending. However, I would suggest to you as City Council that as you invest in a general fund loan, perhaps you have a higher degree of confidence in your ability to repay yourself, and that you might consider as a policy option that the wastewater fund might enjoy an interest rate that is less than 4%. Right now, your investments, and the city has a significant investment pool from all of its restricted monies. It's invested. You have a money manager who invests this, and it's earning less than 1% interest. So basically, the surplus money in the wastewater fund is now, it's either invested in LAIF, which is a state treasurer's pool, or it's invested through your money manager. In all cases, the interest rate you are earning is significantly less than 4%. And so I would suggest that the council might have confidence in its ability to repay itself, and that it might propose an amendment to the terms at a rate less than 4%. And again, your attorneys have given you and structured this arrangement as if it were an open market transaction between third-party independent parties. But I think you have a policy option here to consider a lesser interest rate that would still give the wastewater fund a benefit above and beyond what they're currently earning in the city's investment pool, while still being less than 4%. So this is a policy option that we invite you to consider as you consider this resolution.
Ms. Myers, is a policy option also the length?
Yes, absolutely.
The length of the time of the repayment plan?
Well, I'm comfortable discussing an interest rate at less than 4%, and again, this is all policy. I would just like to reiterate my concerns about extending beyond 4 years. My concerns would be that in order for the city to get this loan repaid, to begin a situation where you are able to rebuild reserves and restore services in the future, the longer that you are paying this debt, you are incurring interest costs and you are crowding out other services. But you are in a very difficult situation here, given the size of the cuts, and so I fully understand why there might be an interest in extending that loan another year. In terms of just from a purely finance point of view, I would encourage you to get the debt off your books so that you can move forward as a city, but that's easy to say from a numbers point of view. When you look at the nature of the cuts, I understand why there is a policy discussion that might have other benefits from a longer term. And so those conclude my comments. Like I said, this is our 4th meeting discussing these numbers, and I'm happy to take any questions or to look at any of the items in the budget that you would like to consider.
Ms. Mayor, you were talking about the terms and lengths. Is you not comfortable, or you are in a way saying you not recommend to change the terms and the interest lengths and interest rate?
No, I think it's entirely a policy option that's available to the council as they weigh pros and cons of different competing interests. I think that the interest rate is high, in my personal opinion. Again, but your financing team, you have experts who have told you that this is the market rate.
Okay,
This is
thank
what
you.
the market rate would be for this type of a loan. But the question is, for you as investors with your wastewater hat on, do you believe that the general fund is a good credit risk? And are you willing to accept a lower interest rate for extending this loan?
The length, what about the length? About 4 years is kind of too short. As long as it's more longer terms, which is we can have a little more room for the budget.
From a purely finance point of view, my recommendation is the shorter you pay, the quicker you are able to retire the debt, the quicker you are able to move forward. However, you have competing interests here because you have such a deficit that the council has to weigh multiple priorities. And by deferring to a fifth year, you will incur more interest costs, it will cost you more over time, but the burden each year would be slightly less.
Thank you. Okay, so any council members have some questions? If we don't have question, probably we're gonna go same as the last meeting. We have two persons who like to talk. Is that regarding what the question or just talking? If we call questioning for the Ms. Mayor, maybe this is the time. Okay, Ms. Felix.
Mayor. Council, I have a question going back to the Measure H. I skimmed over your presentation and your budget. I didn't find the 10% reserve at all in that report you guys have. Could you point me out what page is that in?
I believe you're referring to a resolution that has been passed in the past.
Right, the resolution and policy.
There has been a past policy to set aside a portion of the Measure H revenues as they come in each month into a reserve. That reserve was appropriated and spent in 14-15. That was part of the mix-up with the double counting of the Measure H revenues. And the money, although there was a reserve, was appropriated and spent in 14-15. And the proposed budget fully expends all the monies that are available. And so, yes, there is a policy in place. By adopting this budget tonight, the council would be authorizing the full expenditure of the Measure H revenues. And so although there are still reserves from the bond proceeds that are available for the fire station and other park improvements, the operating money is fully committed through this budget to police salaries, fire salaries, and a fire lease. And so I heard...
debt service.
I heard earlier that there was an interest, a perception of the community that Measure H was going to be funding public safety and park and recreation, and that continues to be the case. But as far as the reserve policy, no, there is no reserve established in this budget.
Okay, well, why wasn't that established in this budget? Because it was approved by council to have the 10% reserve for OES, and that was a policy approved by this same council for the same purposes. And that 10% was only for emergencies, not for you to balance the general fund or for us to help the council save the general fund. It was for purely emergency purposes. And I don't see that in your paperwork.
And I agree with you, it's very appropriate for a city to establish reserves, and I hope that this city, over the 5-year period, can restore its reserves. But given the pressure on the expenditures, at this point in time, it's a council policy decision whether it is able to continue that reserve in the current fiscal year.
So shouldn't they have something in front of them right now, seizing and deseizing that 10%, if that is what you're implying?
I wish it were more clear. I think that there's indirect, by appropriating the Measure H budget fund expenditures, they are indirectly stating the same thing.
Right, but what I'm trying to get clear here was that council approved that 10% set aside for OES purposes, and it's in place. It hasn't been amended, it hasn't been void, it hasn't been rescinded. So it should be in your budget right now, and it does not appear.
You are correct, it is not here, and the budget reso as proposed would override that reserve.
So why isn't being respected as of now?
It is a council policy decision. If the council chooses to establish that reserve,
Shouldn't they know, I'm sorry, but shouldn't they know by now how much they have accumulated for the past couple of months since Mr. Quinn used all their funds? Because I've asked staff numerous times, and I got no answers. And all the answers I got were, we're still working on the budget. We're still trying to put together the expenses reports for the Measure H. In fact, I even give them my personal Measure H agendas and minutes and resolutions so they could compile their information because they had zero information. I'm asking for minutes for the past 5 years. I have nothing. So I don't think it's fair for the citizens to have that void, and neither for the council to just brush it under the seat, under the table and say there is no 10% reserve no more because X, Y, and Z abused it. No, I'm sorry. You adopted a policy and that policy is in place, and we want answers. Another question. Mr. Real mentioned at the last council meeting that there was an EDA grant for 3.5 that was lost. Was there a matching fund for that loan, and where did that loan the matching fund come out of? Who's going to pay for that matching fund?
That EDA loan hasn't been lost. That first one.
It's not a lost loan. What it is we have an EDA grant that was given by.
So you haven't lost it?
If we don't produce the jobs, which it doesn't look like we're going to do within the next year.
But you have a matching fund?
No, that comes out of general fund if we have to pay it back.
Well, yeah, you have a matching fund that is coming out of general fund. How are you going to come out with the general fund matching fund?
All I know is we need to pay back those funds if we don't
Well, that's
produce
what
the
you need to
jobs.
know. I'm sorry, sir, but you need to know where you're going to come out with that matching fund if your budget is on zero.
Exactly. I agree with
So
you.
then if you don't have the matching fund, you will have to repay the 3.5 loan and the grant.
It's 3 million, not 3.5.
The $3 million that you need to pay back to the EDA.
Correct.
And on top of that, you're probably going to pay penalties.
I don't know about that, but I know that if that's something that we're looking at in our future, which we're not taking into consideration in this 3.9 million.
Are there any other EDA grants that are outstanding right now?
Not that I know, just that grant.
All right, thank you.
I think that if we did a forensic line-by-line review, we could definitely have the opportunities to talk about absolutely every single department's questions just like that. And we are doing a disservice to our community not to give them that opportunity.
It's funny because we passed a forensic audit a while back, and I don't think you supported that because everything was supposed to be okay. But
What happens with a forensic audit, Ms. Myers, is that if your finances are not in order yet, then you can't audit. And that's what I've been telling Mr. Real, is that in order to be able to do an audit and a review, we had to wait for today. And as a matter of fact, what I'll remind you of, Mr. Real, is that you wanted to have discussions about our finances, but I asked you to wait because it doesn't make sense to have discussions when you don't have what you have here today. And here we are. I'm ready to be able to do what everybody wants to know. There's a lot of details.
where were you the last 2 years when we were trying to get finances?
And so,
Exactly.
Please.
She's lying to the
Mr.
public, making it seem like she wants to work.
Okay, Mr.
Why don't we have a
Yanes,
budget
is
for
that
2 years?
consider
Where was the council?
Question or consider comment
We're here because of
Question?
that.
for the budget?
Double standard
please.
here. Always a double standard.
Manuel Yáñez, 1089 Santiago. Yesterday, I was in the committee to approve the budget. We did a recommendation to approve it. That was yesterday. There were so many discussions yesterday about the budget. You were here, Mrs. Hurtado. You knew.
I know.
Mandy, you were here. I don't know what part of the budget you don't understand, Mrs. Hurtado. It's $14 million coming in and $17 million going out. We don't have the money. Just ask you, Mrs. Mayor. It's not true. The expenditures versus the revenue. The expenditures are bigger, 3.5 million. That's what you're telling us. We are asking a loan That's it. Those are the terms of the loan. What part of the budget you don't understand? It's so easy, not complicated. What I didn't understand yesterday was the way the mechanism works and the accounting system. I'm not accounting, that's what I told you. But I think I got the background, a little bit of background to understand finances. I got a PhD in administration, just to put on front, 2 master's degree. And you think I didn't understand? I understood. What happened is so easy. It's not complicated. You, Mr. Villa, has a big responsibility. I told you yesterday. I told you the day before yesterday. You are the one that's going to control this. I don't want to take it against the employees, but you represent 40,000 people, not 144 people. Please, do the best there is for the community. That's what you have to do. You are the policy maker. You did mistakes in the past, that's okay. This is the present. We got to work for the future. We don't have to continue at the present and the past. If they overspend the mature age, that's the past. If the lady that is coming here doesn't understand what happened with the mature age funds, she has to have some information. But we don't have any money left on the mature age. Everything is going to the general fund right now. The money is in the mature age, you already know, Mrs. Hurtado. It's already there on the bank, $6 billion. That's the only money that is left for the 11 millions. You already spent 5 millions, 3 millions on swimming pool, and 2 millions on expenses. We are spending almost 1 million every year on interest. That means how much? $4,000 every hour. $500 every hour, I'm sorry. $4,000 every day on interest. $500 every hour on interest. It's not painful for mistakes that the former council did, or the last council did. They approved those bonds. That was a huge mistake. And we are paying for your mistakes. Don't continue doing errors and mistakes. You have the expert here. Please tell us, how much money we have to spend? 3.5 million, that's not true? We have to ask for a loan for 3.5 million. That's a loan. That's it. We don't have the money. 17 million coming, 14 million going out. I'm sorry, 14 million coming, 17 million going out. It's an easy minus question, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yanes. Okay, it looks like a public, I was asking for the question, but it looks like the public took the comment. I'm sorry, Ms. Mayor. And then I have some question about myself before the council. It was major H money is how much we're talking about, what page is. I think the public like to know what number. What understanding last meeting was a different number was being presented. What page was about?
I'd like to clarify that Measure H has 2 sources of funds. You have an annual revenue from the annual sales tax, use tax, and that is providing 2.7 million. And so is your question?
What page we can see it?
Yes, it's on page
Revenues.
page 51.
Page 51.
And I just want to differentiate. This is the balance of the current revenue coming in each year. There's a separate page that describes the bond proceeds that are still available to fund the fire station and the recreation improvements, and that's a separate page. But first, I'd like to see if you have any other questions on the page 51. This is the 2.7 million of Measure H money. It's 2.7 in 15-16. It's a little bit less in 16-17. And this money is first being used to pay debt service of $1 million, and then it is paying 1.250 of salaries for the police and the fire departments, and a portion of it is also paying for an equipment lease on a fire truck. And then there's a small residual that is also being used, proposed to contribute to general fund operations. But the current revenue is fully committed to general fund programs in the current year. The second Measure H page, and I need to look the page number, is page 77, reports on the status of the bond proceeds. And yes, there have been a lot of questions on this. And so on page 77, you can see that there were originally, of the bond, 10.8 million of the proceeds were available for projects. Some money has been spent, including $3 million in the current year for the swimming pool. And there remains 7.1 million for future projects, including the fire station and including park improvements. So page 77 gives you the detail on the status of the bond proceeds.
Okay.
So when we talk about Measure H, we need to differentiate the current revenues we receive versus the capital bond proceeds.
Okay, I believe page 77, the H bond is fixed amount of money because we already issued it. Now, whatever comes in future, we're going to be reducing the number, spending on the bond, but we're not going to be any adding the numbers by the revenue. And actually, the first page we're talking 51. That's why that's the yearly revenue coming in, how much we're going to spend there. But I believe there, page 51, we have like debt service, $990,000. We're going to pay the bond payments. So that's why about the debt service. So all those together, we only have right there we're talking about the 850,000, 400,000, the police and fire, and summer recreation we have 140,000 budget. The parks improvement 115,000 budget. So fire, part the lease, which is I think it's ambulance lease.
Apparatus.
So we all the booked up. So we don't have any reserve to do it. If you want to have a reserve, probably we have to cut from the general, what's called the general fund reimbursements. And parks. What about the general fund reimbursements?
Represents the residual of the annual revenues to be reimbursed to the general fund, to cover general fund programs,
Which is,
at the discretion of the council.
I still don't understand the $115,000 what
It's
is.
the difference between the revenues and the other expenditures. The revenue projection is greater than the authorized salary reimbursements, and again, I say authorized. The past practice has been to reimburse $850,000 each year to the police department, $400,000 to the fire department for staffing.
Yes?
And also the policy has been to pay for this fire apparatus lease. There are also park improvements, and these are appropriations from the prior year that the spending bled into the current fiscal year. That $140,000 has been spent on park improvements already.
140?
So the line that says other general fund reimbursement represents the residual of the fund, the residual of the current revenues, and that has been used as an offset in your general fund budget to fully draw the available, to maximize every available dollar, to minimize the cuts in service that the council has in front of it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mayor. I believe a little more clear for the Major H fund. And please.
Before, Norma, I wanted just to have a little breakdown here. The 850 going to the police, that was authorized in two separate occasions, correct? Because I believe originally it was kind of closer to what the fire was given, and then at a later time, I believe there was another decision from council that added, I think, another 300 because we were planning on hiring, I believe. Is that, can you kind of, just so we could remember why we have so much more in police than the fire?
Yes,
Was it two separate,
it was two separate approval. First time, I think before I'm coming in, the Major H approved the 600,000 for the police, 400,000 for the fire. The later on council approved $250,000 for the one sergeant position, I think two officer. So they approved the 250.
Do you know
The
if we
different-
hired those two officers after all with those 250, Chief? Or anybody? Okay.
I don't think they hired it.
No?
They didn't hire it, they just spent the money to put it into the spending. So actually, they using the hire, but the administration, they never hired to the additional officers. So actually.
Did we authorize the
We
hiring?
give the.
Did we
give the mo-
authorize the hiring?
Well, the former administration didn't authorize it, they didn't do that. I was just trying to say, where is the additional officer? And I didn't get the support from the council. That's just, my voice is just like going through the window. Okay, so, Ms. Arguila, please.
So, and I'm sorry if it's a repetitive question, and I'm trying not to make it a repetitive question. But when you said that 10%, because that 10% that was set aside, so what you're saying, when the council last year approved it in August, when they approved that budget, they encumbered or they absorbed or they dissolved that 10% set aside? Is that what you're telling me?
There had been a reserve. In the 14-15 budget, there was a misunderstanding of the revenue structure, and the revenues were double budgeted. And so spending happened, and the reserve got drawn. I don't believe it was intentional at the time, but the 14-15 budget authorized the spending of that reserve. And so at the end of 14-15, when we closed the books for 15, there was no reserve left.
And I will beg to differ with you, because I was on Measure H, and I think it was intentional, because at that time, it was, in order for that to be overridden, it was either by action of either our recommendation or the council. And so for me, that's why it's important, I want to understand very clearly that if you're telling me that by the council approving it last August, did that extend to encumbering that 10%?
I'm not sure what you're talking about in terms of an approval last August. There was no budget approved for 15-16.
I'm sorry, 14-15.
The 14-15 budget included the same revenues in two different funds. And so the 14-15 budget, yes, was approved. There was an approved budget for 14-15.
When was that approved? When would it be the date?
14-15 budget is approved by 2014 September.
September of
14-15, September 23rd, they approved it. I remember, they tried to pull me out from the chamber.
And the reason, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The budget included Measure H revenues as both a general fund source and a Measure H source. The revenues were budgeted twice. And so at the end of the year, there was only one.
And so that's why I'm saying that, to me, it is deliberate. And the reason I'm asking is because at that time when I was sitting on Measure H and we saw these expenditures, we questioned it because they never came before Measure H Oversight Committee. And after I questioned Mr. Quinn, that was the answer that he told me, that since the council had approved it the prior year, that meant that it was approved and basically could do what he wanted in terms of moving money around. So that's why I wanted to have clarity in that aspect. And you have cleared up something for me
I think that question is not
Thank
for
you.
the Miss Mayor, because she wasn't here, and she doesn't know about those things. Thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Anything, question for the Miss Mayor, please, Council?
Tons of it. I want to go line by line, but I guess we're not gonna. I guess it's not an issue today. You know, this is the time when we have these opportunities to talk, and I'm pretty sure the staff is really wanting to hear us talk. I'm ready.
I wish you did it last year.
There wasn't any information to review.
I wish you last year. You said the whole budget is completely good. That's all they are expert. And then say that they are expert to screw. Now I've approved myself.
Ms. Myers, very serious what's happening here. And yesterday, I know that you said it again, that what we're doing here is a budget that is based on best available information. Is that what you have said, Ms. Myers? With the information, the last financial report that was given to the city last year, 1 year ago, was based on best financial information as well. I know you can't say that because you weren't here, but the circumstances that you have, that the city of Calexico, Mr. Eduardo Gutierrez, has not been able to produce a financial, because one thing is the past, but you've been at this for 10 months. Why don't we have this? I'm sorry, excuse me. It's not possible, because our structure and our situation doesn't allow it. And we have to respect that. We have to respect what she's doing, and she's putting together a very financially complex situation where yesterday we were talking about some nitty-gritty stuff. We actually have some good people on our finance committee that are CPAs and stuff, and we're talking about the differences between the charts of accounts and the bridging. And thank you, Ms. Myers, you gave me your book. That means a lot to me, that I would like to see that bridging, and you understood that yesterday for me. I really appreciate that, because there's actual technicalities to what has happened here. So when we have a council that's only talking about generalities, that's a disservice to you, because this is 30%. And if you want to know if we're interested in going in there and looking at line by line, which I think you guys ought to have that done, this is the time. This is the time where she has given us certain options. She's telling you there's an option to be able to use that one mechanism to be able to stretch it out. Instead of 4 years, go with 5, and it gives a little less pressure on this 30% idea, doesn't it? But why aren't we interested in doing that right now? I don't understand.
Okay, I have very clear why Mr. Gutierrez couldn't provide it, because he couldn't lie. As the 14-15 budget presented, that's copy and pasted. They have like a caricatura like this size. So I brought this one in case of if I get too boring with the numbers, I can see the caricaturas. This kind of their trick, they just bulkily. One of the reporters asking me, over 400 pages, you not trust it? Well, I told them, yes, I don't trust it, because they're all it's not factual number with lots of pictures. That's why they couldn't do it. Mr. Gutierrez couldn't do it, presented it, because all the paperwork is not in the place. They were looking for chasing all the paperwork, calling the receipt, all the documents missing. They were busy to that.
Mr. Kim, but Ms. Myers was hired a long time ago by Mr. Quinn, because she's an expert. She was going to find.
She was hired after the problem. She was hired after the problem. She was recommended, obligated by the auditors to recommend it. We was lucky to have that recommendation. That's why we kept going through this time. If we don't, we don't know where we're going to be here. At least we have I'm sad. We are negative. We have to deal with this one. We have to deal with the cutting the salaries and benefit. I'm sad at that, but one thing is, I'm glad finally we have a budget. No matter we have to cut or not, we have a budget. Now we have a real situation in front of us. Then we have to make the deal. Unfortunately, we have to take some cut, but that's the planning here. We try to survive it. And also this time, recommendation by the staff and Ms. I believe Ms. Mayor was recommending to you. We approve the budget tonight in conditional to work with it. So probably we might have to come back again a month later, all the negotiations, or even we might have to have from now on for every meeting the budget report to the council. So we have to see where are we. So we have to be very careful with how we're spending. Every council meeting we have to see how we're spending. Maybe at the time we can adjust it. This one is like it's planned to spend it, but it's not really solely to fix the approved. Especially when we have a negative budget, we have to be careful every time to checking the status.
Mr. Mayor, may I? City Manager, just to enlighten you what has happened in the last 10 months, I have had several of the department heads come to me and tell me that they went through a 10-month period with not even knowing how much money they had. Had no idea. They open up that computer, that's what they're saying, Ms. Myers, okay, just so you can know, that they opened up the computer and they have no clue. So you had these departments running for 10 months. They didn't even know what they were doing. They're coming to tell me that right now at this given point, they never had that conversation in 10 months. They didn't know. They weren't advised. There was absolutely no communication from this administration nor this council to our departments.
Which department heads
and so
was that?
many departments. I'm not going to divulge. If not, it's not a possibility.
No, I mean,
Approach.
as a council, we need to know what departments.
So the thing is that there has been no communication with them. They have questions. We have been leaving these individuals in the dark, and that is not the way a municipality should function. And I'm going to say it again. There's some interesting questions coming out there. Those have been 10 months worth of waiting. And sir, Mr. Villa, you just don't know the history. We do. So let us have that conversation with our community and with our staff. Because last night in reviewing, I went up to almost 2 o'clock in the morning reviewing line by line with some people where we saw a lot of stuff we can question. Why? I mean, what else do you guys have to do today that we can't do that now?
I wish you did it last year.
Last year you didn't have this, Mr. Kim. Please.
I wish you did it last year. Then you're going to listen to me.
Last year, Mr. Kim, you didn't approve
Or the
it
last
either.
2 years.
And in the last 2 years, we purchased Springbrook in 2013 with the
Okay.
intention that this was going to happen, that we were going to come to today and be able to all come to the table and all agree where we need to move forward with.
Okay, Ms. Mayor, though, if you don't have council members, question, you can go.
I want to give direction to the city manager to tell us which is the staff that hasn't known for the last 10 months their budget. I think it's important that the city council know what staff, what department those are.
I can't offer you any historical perspective, I'm sorry. I can only tell you that moving forward, I've already met with the executive staff, and very loud and clear, I told them that I was going to try to be very collaborative with them. And with the type of system that we have now, we will have real data, real-time data.
Because
for them to look.
the last time that staff knew where they were was when the MOM system was in place, which was more than 10 months ago. That was 2 years ago. So saying, obviously, that the last 10 months were the only time that the staff didn't know, that's ridiculous. It's been more than 2 years that they don't know. But
Okay,
anyways,
yeah, the
the
problem
Oscar
we-
goes to,
problem we had, I believe the department had even the employee, they have issues, and even the council member, actually, we don't have an actual number. Why we don't have actual number? I think the union leader last time was questioning why we don't have starting negotiation more earlier. We cannot starting any negotiation, real negotiation, without the real number. We don't know how much we left. We don't know how much we have short. How we can open the dialogue to starting negotiation. And same things, and lots of paperwork is not in the computer, is not in the book. So what are we gonna do? We're not gonna have anything, a number, factual number. If we give the number or if we get the number, that's just more or less. We don't have a factual number until every document to get put in the place. And today I was doing my computer to my wife's business to all the numbers, because several days I've been couldn't put it on, and right now I'm doing about a month behind it, so I'm put all the number. Right now it's running business only bank balance, but all the checks been paid or if the money comes in, I have to put all the together to I got the real number to how we spend it. And same things in the city over 10 months, but over years we've been without doing it. So our staff to do looking for all the paperwork, put in the numbers. That's why we couldn't have a factual number. As the bookkeeping, accounting, if you have a 1 cent more, 1 cent less, you have to find the place where how. If not, that's not accounting. That's what I learned, that's we have to do it. So if we don't have any question to the Ms. Mayor, please sit to a little rest to let the public say something. Yeah, Mr. Legaspi? I think we have another slip. Yes. Oh.
Just a little confused here. I heard that in the past we hadn't approved the budget and the city continued to go forward. Is that correct?
A spending plan was presented to the city council, but the city council did not take action to adopt the budget.
Right. And so what's the difference between now and then? Obviously, I mean, it's being forced this year to approve the budget when a few years ago it wasn't approved and the city continued to go forward and the doors were open. And also can you answer
Would you like an answer
Yeah,
to that question?
definitely.
Yes, and this is the difference. A year ago, the general fund had reserves, and it had a revenue projection that exceeded the expenditure projection. The best information that was presented to the city council, the best knowledge of all the parties involved, was that there was money to pay the bills. The difference now is we know that there's not money to pay the bills. The general fund, as we sit today, is negative. The cash balance is negative. So in order to continue to operate, now we need to understand the fiduciary of the city, not to bring people to work, not to pay vendors, unless they have a spending plan that balances. They need to know they have the money to pay the bills. So there are two reasons we need to balance a budget. In order to borrow money from the wastewater fund, the city council, as a fiduciary for the wastewater customers, needs to be sure that there is a way to pay that loan back. So we need to have a workout plan, basically a balanced budget that demonstrates the ability to repay the loan. And the second thing is that we can't begin to operate unless we have a way to pay the bills. Otherwise, as the attorney has advised earlier in the meeting, there is I'm trying to think of the words that you use. There is a risk to the officials of the city for writing bad checks. So we need to adopt a budget to demonstrate that we have a workout plan to move forward with a balanced budget and to live within our means.
Thank you. Also, they want us to obviously pay this within the next 4 years. The thing that I don't understand, if we can stretch it to the 5 or 6, 7, 8 years. I mean, we have the utmost confidence of Mr. Villa. I mean, in the county, you've brought in a lot of business. I read that in the paper. And I'm sure that he is going to bring in businesses for the city of Calexico. And I mean, that's why we brought him in, right? And if we can stretch this out for the 4, 5, 6 years, why hit us with the 30 or 28% pay cut when we can just stretch that out for the 4, 5, 6 years in the division? And look, within the 6 months, when January comes up, maybe that would stop, because all of a sudden we got businesses coming in and we don't have to continue with a pay cut for the next, 1 year, 2 years, or whatnot. So why 30 or 20% hit now when we can divide this for the next 4 years or 3 years? And like I'm repeating myself, when we come back to January, all of a sudden, hey, we're doing okay. We don't have to do this anymore because Mr. Villa brought some businesses approved by City Council, and we go forward. Why can't we do that instead of getting hit hard right now? Divide them. Divide the pay cut if we have to.
So we have an obligation to balance our revenues with our expenditures with the information that we have available right now. And right now, our property and our sales tax projections provide a certain amount of revenues for the year. And then it's up to City Council to establish the appropriations on how they choose to spend that money, as long as it balances. That's the thing. It has to balance. We have to balance within the revenues we have available today.
Okay. And earlier you said, even though if, budget's approved and so forth, we have time to make a lot of corrections, fix a lot of stuff, and if businesses do come in, the 30% can drastically change. Is that correct, Mr. Villa? Or could? We had a positive meeting with our budgeting attorney for this morning, and a lot of it was explained regarding to changes that could be made within the next 30 days, positive changes. So is that correct? Mr. Gutierrez? Okay, because, in the past, the association has given a lot of input, and we've given solutions to a lot of stuff that we can implement in order for, the cost to be for the city in a positive manner, such as the loss of officers, which is not a good thing. We are losing police officers, and
19 right now?
we have about 17?
17?
17 police officers, patrol.
You're down to 16? No way.
Down to 16, and we're probably losing.
Can you lighten us, Chief, by any chance, if there was any discussions when we're going to see any new officers out in the streets? 16 is scary. Okay, 19?
Patrol,
Was in
out
the
in the-
budget, any conversations, or we're going to see any enlightenment on that area?
Okay,
Thank you.
These are the kinds of questions that your community should know, what we're doing with our money. These are the details that I'm trying to have everybody understand, that if everyone complains about the fact that we have limited services, these are the things we need to think out as a council, how best to apply our funds.
Could you please repeat the question?
And I just wanted to know if there's any future plans to remedy the officer need, that we're low on boots on the ground.
I haven't been made privy to any future plans to fill the vacancies.
Thanks.
thank you, Mr. Gomez. Okay, so thank you, Ms. Mayor. I believe we have another person, Bieber, James Bieber.
James Bieber, Calexico. I had a question for Mrs. Mayor, but you can sit down there. You don't have to get back up. What I'm understanding that we need this $3.9 million loan, and in essence, putting a lien on the city of Calexico. Is that the guarantee?
Generally, there would be a memorandum recorded on the city hall that would memorialize the fact that in order to provide security for the loan coming through the wastewater fund, you'd have a leaseback arrangement that would essentially
Just on City Hall,
City
right?
Hall,
Not
correct.
on the fire department or police
No,
department
just
property?
for City Hall itself.
Okay, is the city worth $3.9 million?
We have some numbers that it is valued at that point.
Is that appraised value?
You have some numbers?
3.5,
Is
yes.
that an appraised value, or?
We had, we did have some documentation, I remember it was an appraisal, but we had verified numbers to ensure that
So-
it was sufficient to cover the
So
the
a bank would accept the ransom, the city hall?
We not go to the bank. We just
Well,
ourselves.
the loaning
Yeah.
entity.
Yeah,
or
we
the-
did the analysis that we did any sort of financing. So I had my finance attorneys review the liens, the title report on the city hall as well, ensure that there was enough security here to be able to provide security for the loan from the wastewater fund.
Thank you, that was my question.
Thank
Don't
you,
kid
Mr.
yourself. We are mortgaging City Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Bieber.
Thank you.
So I think we don't have any things from the public then. So fellow council members, we go discussion about the number one. And I believe we need to have a more clarification for the public. Whatever we're approving tonight about the budget, this budget we're not approving for the factual as it is. We're going to use that for the temporary for the 1 month to keep on going, and we're going to revisit the budget to more factual.
So, so the actions that you are being requested to take is 3 resolutions. One resolution would be to adopt the multi-year budget with the structure, the financial structure that we've given you with a $3.5 million loan lease agreement. And then the 2 other resolutions will be one for the city council to approve the lease agreements, and the other for, as the Calexico Financing Authority, to approve the lease agreements. And
Okay.
that budget for 2016-17 has a placeholder to come back to you within the next 30 days to find ways to create savings to achieve the $3.9 million deficit that we have this year.
Okay, so if there's any, we might have to have about mid of the next month to have a little more details on the budget, at least discussion only. Then later on, about a month later, which is end of August, when we going finalizing the budget again, we might can adopt it that time.
You are being asked to approve a budget today that would allow us to have a spending plan
Yes,
to be able to operate tomorrow.
yes.
It is your discretion to review the budget as many times as you like. So today, we're asking you to review this budget and approve the resolution to allow us
To start working tomorrow.
to start working tomorrow. And also, you are directing me to find ways to find those savings.
The savings of the $30.5 million
$30.9 million.
shortfall. Okay. Okay, so I believe that Ms. Hurtado go to page by page, line by line. I believe that other council member would have to go to line by line too. I think we're gonna have some time, might be from the new city mayor. We might have to call the special meeting in the middle of the month. Maybe we go to the more detail, just for to questioning or detailed information. So that way, on end of August when we're coming in, we might have some adjustment that time. So I like to have those kind of a future plan to have another workshop before the budget approving, before the adjusting the budget. So we have a motion for more discussion on the 1A, discussion approve. I believe we read it. Discussion of the number 1, discussion of the proposed budget and the financing documents for fiscal year 2015-16 and fiscal year 2016-17. And A, discussion of a proposed budget for fiscal year 2016-17, resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico approving the budget for fiscal year July 1st, 2015 to June 30, 2016, and for the fiscal year July 1st, 2016 through June 30, 2017. Is there any chance Mr. Campo can read the resolution for the public?
To read the headings
Yeah, so like resolutions?
for
Itself?
for the next two items, the next two resolutions?
No, this is a resolution for now. 1A?
A resolution of the City Council, City of Calexico, approving the budget for fiscal year July 1, 2015 to June 30th, 2016, and for the fiscal year July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017.
The resolution itself.
Resolution number 2016, then the next sequence in order.
So we don't need to read all the resolution to the public?
You can read by title only?
Yeah, there's no requirement, it's not an ordinance. We could do it there's no requirement.
Okay, no requirement.
The ordinance are the ones where we do have to read the ordinance title, but these resolutions, they're not required.
So we posted all the resolution.
They've been posted on the website, as of yesterday, which for special meetings is a time allotted, and obviously we have copies of resolutions for the public. And at the time the City Council is ready to move on this item, we'd also recommend approving the two resolutions regarding the $3.5 million financing on behalf of the city, on behalf of the Public Financing Authority. We want to take one action approving the three resolutions, because they all work.
Looks
they
like
all work in
Mr.
tandem.
Mandy's.
You don't need to wait for Mandy, we have a quorum.
Well, I don't want him to say I wasn't there. I want him to have 5 council members to make the decision.
Well, we're here.
Yeah, Mr. Leal are always doing this way to.
City Attorney, do we have to wait for Mr. Real?
We have a quorum on the council right now.
Can you looking for the Mr. Leal, please, be seated to his duty? His duty.
Mr. Mayor, are we looking at item number 1 at this point?
Yes, number 1A.
Yeah, the recommendation of staff is to adopt the item 1A as well as item 2A
Which
and
is a
2B.
two-year budget, and the two is to approve the resolution of the 3.5 million balance.
Correct. They all work in tandem, so that's the reason we're recommending
And
approving
then
the three resolutions.
The last one is to look at the interest rate and the year we pay it back.
That's a public for the council's
Okay.
discussion.
Ms. City Attorney, is it legal to clump both? We probably are, but can you please clarify that? It kind of feels a little weird to have both budgets being approved in one swipe.
No, there's nothing incorrect with that approach. And also, too, at the same time, too, it's a unique situation here where I think, because we are doing two budgets that are also tied into a financing plan, I think it seems the best course, and that's what we're recommending, is adopt all the items at once, so they all work together. So that's what we're recommending.
Okay, have a motion? Do I have a motion? 1A?
So moved.
There's good
Motion by Mr.
discussion.
Moreno, second by Mr. Castro. We have some discussion?
Yeah, there's been talk about the interest rates and term loans of the term of the loan. I'm not sure if there was a discussion on that.
Okay, some discussion, can we adjust it a little, the low interest and the longer time?
You probably have to go make it.
Ms. Meyer,
So the terms of the loan is a policy decision on your end as a public, as city council. So what our finance team proposed will be a 4-year loan or payback. But you have the discretion to go longer. And obviously, the longer you stretch it, the more interest you pay. But also at the same time, you have the ability to change the interest rate. Obviously, our attorneys and their financial team recommended a 4%. But you have the discretion to go lower and up to what the money would otherwise make on the open market.
well, if we have a longer terms, that means we have less payments for the years, so we might have to little less ask the cut from the employee side.
That's correct.
Was interest rate, why was 4% chosen?
Market value, that's what.
Yeah, that was based on arm's length market interest
Okay.
rate. That's-
All right.
So I'd like to have some kind of a amendment from the motion maker.
Can I just have a clarification that the total dollar amount that needs to be cut from staff is $2,750,000. That's what we're looking at, the value of approximately, well, the 30% is everything that we're looking here at the three-prong approach, which is the revenue restoration, which I don't believe we restored business licenses or fire inspection, so we're only getting back $100,000 from that. So then that's still a problem, so we still have $400,000 out there because we are not restoring business licenses or fire inspections. And then we have $2,750,000 coming out from staff costs. So that is the total that's being considered to deduct from salary, correct?
No, let me allow me to make a clarification.
This is the one we received Tuesday,
That slide
right?
that you have in front of you is not part of the budget. That's part of a workshop where we presented to you last time.
These are the recommended cuts that are the placeholders, correct?
That's not part of the budget. That's part
They're not
of
the placeholders? These are not the placeholders?
The placeholder is $3.9 million.
Uh-huh, but that's what I'm saying. This total's 3.9, correct? This is the placeholders?
Right, but those three options are the options that were provided to you if you were interested in directing at that time those to be the savings. You haven't chosen to do that
Well,
yet.
today I wanted to have done that, but we're not getting that opportunity today, I guess, some other day.
You have time, you haven't voted on it yet, so.
I was kind of hoping to
Right
do that
now,
tonight, but
right now, we're still looking at a placeholder of
We've waited a
$3.9
long
million to be, and certainly,
Hurry
in
up.
the next month, we're going to
Hurry up,
be
hurry up.
entertaining those solutions too. So we haven't closed the book on it yet.
And also, I think if we have little extending time of the payment and the interest, just the interest rate, probably 2%, so we might have to little less cut from the
True.
from the
that-
3.9, but we're going to approve it to 3.9 tonight. But in case of if we extend the more time limit and the lower interest rate, so we might going to have a little less we might have to cut a little less from the employee's salary and benefit.
Well, what you're approving today, the loan document that you're approving today, you would have to make that decision today. If you choose to lower the interest rate, that is your policy choice.
Yes.
If you want it to be 2%, then that's what you need to deliberate on.
So
If you want the term to be longer, that's what you need to deliberate on right now.
I'd like to ask Mr. Moreno to probably 2% rate and 6 years length of the payments. That way we have a little less pressure for the payments.
2% for
6
6 years?
6 years, instead of 4% 4 years.
4 years and 4%? Is that,
You know, what we have recommended is 4 years. I really don't encourage you to go any longer than 5 years. We have to start building a reserve. If you choose to lower the interest rate and make the term longer, there will be less interest rates, but at the same time, longer interest rates. So there will be cost savings, and we don't have.
would it be
that.
significant, Mr. Villa, a cost savings of
Is it what in the?
a couple $100,000?
So the total interest over the
reducing it
loan
from
will be
6?
less, but you'll be paying one more year if you choose to extend it.
Reducing it to 5 at the same, Mr. Kim suggested 6%, 2%.
For sure, there will be some interest savings there.
Would that be a better option? Or we want to go with a 4-4, 4 years, 4%?
Then we're going to have more payments coming in.
What's the human cost? What is the morale cost? Because right now you have staff sitting here waiting, biting nails, and that's
Susan,
what
can you go
she's
over
trying
that?
to tell you. Stop looking also at just strictly a financial perspective.
Can you go over that exhibit that shows the
payments?
The payment plan, yeah, that one.
Yeah,
Should we have faith that more businesses are going to be coming in?
Exactly. It's not like we're frozen. The outlets will be covering their outlets. We're going to get a second phase.
Carlos is coming in, the outlets is coming in.
It's not as if we stopped growing all of a sudden.
I've been asked to show you the page that shows you the debt service schedule at 4% in 4 years. I think it is on Schedule 3.1 in your agenda packet. It's not in the budget book, it's in the agenda packet for the loan agreement.
What page?
C1.
Agenda?
Can you find that to put it up in the screen?
It's not in the budget book.
It's not the budget book?
No, it's not you don't have
it
that.
would, yeah, it's a little hard to, it's under the lease agreement, Exhibit C.
Oh, exhibit 1?
It's a little, it's, you know, how it's.
One page ones? At the agenda?
C1, it's the Exhibit C to the lease agreement. And basically what this schedule says is that over the course of 4 years, at 4% and a repayment term of 4 years and 4%, you'll be paying about $400,000 of interest over the term of the loan.
So where is, I don't have it.
We're fighting over pennies.
Ms. Myers, I've never heard about the Calexico Public Financing Authority. Was that already in existence, and were they already handling other activity?
Excuse me, I'm having trouble hearing.
I'm looking at the name on this contract for Calexico Public Financing Authority, which was one of the parties in this agreement. I never had heard that name before. Are they already in existence, and do we have other responsibilities with them?
No, they're an existing organization. Almost every city of the state has a financing authority just like this, and it's done for the purpose of issuing debt. And I don't know your specifics. Normally, these are a joint powers agreement with the former redevelopment agency, and it's the tool that's used to issue bonds.
Okay.
And so my guess is that your redevelopment agency had used this vehicle.
Okay.
You probably used it for the Measure H, perhaps the Measure D, I don't know. But it's an existing organization, and it's very common. It's a common financing tool in California.
Motion.
And so on C1, there's a debt service schedule at 4% in 4 years. And what you can see here is that with the proposed financing plan at 4% 4 years, the general fund will be paying about $400,000, and I'm rounding here because I'm adding quickly in my head, but it's about $400,000 over the course of the year. If you drop that interest rate to 2%, you save a couple $100,000. If you choose to extend to 5 years, you'll pay more interest, but the annual payment will be less. And so at a minimum, if you reduce to the mayor is the one who proposed the 2%, you would save a couple $100,000 to the general fund, pays for a staff member or two. I think that's a wonderful solution. It's moving in the right direction. If you choose to go to 5 years, you will pay more interest, but you will have a lower annual debt service and you will have less burden on the reductions in the current year.
Yeah. We're still going to be saving from the paying the 4%, the 2% 5 years probably. So we have a little less principal payments and plus the less from the interest. So we're saving a little more than the just 2% 4 years.
I think this is a very productive conversation that is reducing the size of the deficit. And I'm encouraged that you are taking the first step in solving the budget deficit.
Thank you. So can you change the motion to 2% 5 years?
2% for 5 years, is that?
So it's basically
I would, yeah.
equivalent to when you buy in a car.
Right.
You know, you're stretching your payment longer and your interest is less, so your monthly payment will be less. So I think we budgeted $900,000 or $1 million for repayment next year. Once we do the calculation, I can guarantee you that number is going to be less.
Yeah.
How much
so
less?
We can save some money.
Yeah.
Okay, I think if you feel that is doable, that is something that is feasible, and
That's good.
you know, so 5 years
2%.
and at 2%, then I will adjust my motion to include that.
Okay.
So Mr. Castro, second agreed?
On 5 years and 2%.
2%?
And then just part of that we would be revising the financial documents to reflect the 2% at 5-year term. So
Yes?
That's fine.
Do you have to say something? You second.
I believe Jan.
He amended. He amended motion, so you have to.
Okay. I'm seconded.
Okay.
I
so-
want to discuss something. Well,
More discussion again?
Just make a statement.
Okay.
This is the first time that I actually vote on a budget, and so the fact that it's the first time I make a decision on a budget since I've been on city council, and we're having to mortgage City Hall is just shocking. And don't kid yourself, you know, the irresponsibility that we lasted more than 2 years without financials is ridiculous. And the fact that if we don't approve this budget tonight, there are implications of the council possibly going to jail. You know what? We should. We should. Because it's unfortunate that the community and the staff now have to suffer for the wrong decisions that we've made. And there was talk of forensic audits in the past. When I personally went into the finance director Quinn's office and got kicked out and told if the police would take me out. See, those noises that you guys are making is the same noises they used to make when Kim used to say that he needed numbers and, he's crazy, right? Yeah, we're crazy. But we were right. We wanted numbers. And it is what it is. It is what it is. It's the reality. And mortgage in City Hall is a bad idea. You know, I just hope that it was worth it. The whole misdirection about the corruption and the millions of dollars in money that we spent, that the city manager spent on, is just hurting us now. And so, this is speechless. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Mr. Real. Mr. Castro, you want to say something?
Well, we already heard the Mrs. Mayor, Susan Mayor, all the options, and also we heard the city attorney. I mean, we have to make the decision either today. The other issue that the city manager, he didn't mention, but I already spoke with him, and that because we didn't finish 15-16 budget, and also we didn't, well, basically the administration or the finance department, they never finished 2015, 2016, and I'm
16,
sorry,
17.
16 and 17 budget. That's one of the reasons Calexico was struggling in order to get programs, grants, and that's something that to benefit also fire and police department, and also the community. And that's one of the reasons today we hear the city attorney and also again Mrs. Mayor. So we need to decide today to support the budget. And like the city manager mentioned too, he's going to continue to work with the unions and with employees in order to work with the employees, and I believe the whole council are going to support to make sure to work in order to look for benefit the citizens of Calexico and also the employees. That's it. Thank you.
Mr. Moreno?
Well, we're just tough situation today, and
It is.
it hurts all the way around. I just hope that we can, help each other as we move along in the next several years and come back better, get that fire station built, and just try to work as a team. I'm very saddened today by what we're discussing, but it's better to have a city than not to have one. And I think this is going to set us back, but I believe in the long run we'll be better in the next couple of years. So I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moreno. Ms. Hurtado?
No comments.
Thank you. And again, I believe some of the council members fighting with me together to try to get the right direction of the budget, but we failed it. We failed to have 3 votes to support it, so that's why we have here today. But I'm glad today we tried to work together to try to damage control. But unfortunately, it's not what we wanted it, but at least we have a little air to relieve the little pressure. That's all I can say. And I'm glad we have some kind of agreement. We don't vote yet, so let's get to actions.
And I'd like to clarify that the motion and the vote would be on the resolution approving the multi-year budget, as well as the resolutions from the city council, as well as the public financing authority approving the $3.5 million loan. So it'd be one,
No, well,
with the interest at 2% in a 5-year term.
yeah, but I think we can go one by one, or we go all together.
We would recommend doing them all simultaneously. That way, because they all work in connection with each
Okay.
other, so we would need one action. That way, we don't have a.
So all three together, one action.
I just want to make one more statement. I will, you know what, I will support this motion if it's amended to take away our salary and our insurance. Because if the citizens are going to be hurt and the employees are, we should too. So if someone wants to amend the motion to take away our insurance and our salary, I will support this. If not, I'm not mortgaging City Hall. Put your money where your mouth is.
Okay, so then I think it would be fair that Mr. Villa also take his 30%.
That's
Straight across the
I don't
board.
think we can make a motion here for
Attorneys
that.
too, because we did that the last time. Last time we did the 30%
I'm
on the
just saying,
attorneys as well.
Just put our money
And
where our
general
mouth
tickets.
is.
I think we should, if you want to do that, Mr. Real, I think we should bring it up at the next meeting. And I would support that decision. But what's on the board now is these items.
Yeah, so let's go to vote.
Aye.
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 I do not agree with clumping them all together.
No,
And
no,
so
we-
my vote is no.
Oh,
No.
Okay, 3-2 then. The pass.
Okay.
So we have, I think we conclude all the agenda we put together. So if we had anything, so we adjourn the meeting today, 8:52.